So, have something that I kind of want to talk about, and I've been fighting with myself back and forth whether I actually want to. But the Resident Evil 4 remake is a big topic right now. Basically, everyone that I've seen talk about it is talking about how great it is. It's how a remake should be done, and that's something I completely agree with. But it brings up a interesting question that I'm seeing decent amount of pushback on, and I don't agree with, and that is, is Capcom going to remake Resident Evil 5? I think they absolutely should. I'm I'm a little biased. Resi 5 is my favorite of the series, but I wasn't aware of all the controversy that surrounded that game. It released in 2009, so I was like 14 years old when that game came out. I wasn't aware of all the stuff that was going on. I just know my dad and I liked Resident Evil games, and this was a Resident Evil that featured co-op. So that made it amazing on its own. So I grew up enjoying playing that game with my dad. Loved it, and now I think my wife and I have played through the campaign twice. We've been debating on whether or not to play through it a third time. But I'm seeing a lot of people saying that not only should it not be remade because of, the controversy surrounding it, but there's also a group of people that say, the remakes are a diminishing return. And while I agree with that, Resident Evil 5 and 6 still had the awful mechanic, the tanky controls. You can either move around or you can aim. You can't do both at the same time like modern first person and third person shooters do. So, I'm in the camp of 5 and 6 needing to be remade. And, I got a few screenshots that I want to show with y'all. So, Resident Evil 4 came out in 2005. These are screen grabs from the original. Yeah, it doesn't look great, especially by today's standards. But when you turn around and look at Resident Evil 5, it doesn't look that great neither. There's 4 years between the two games, so this game could definitely get the remake treatment. I think it deserves it. You know, yeah, the age is showing on 4 here, but I'd argue that the age is showing on 5 almost just as much. You know, Granted, there's a platform jump. This was GameCube, PS2 era, and Resi 5 was PS3, Xbox 360. But it was the end of one generation versus kind of the beginning of the next one. So I think if The Last of Us can get remastered, what, 3 times now? Twice, two, 3 times, then can get I think this can get a remake. Not only that, a lot of people, down Resi 5, how it wasn't that great. You know, it's one of the worst games in the series, or one of the worst mainline. I'm sure there's a lot of spin-off games that nobody talks about. I just heard names of some of the side games that I just learned about for the first time today that are 15 years old now. I don't know. However, they're old. Not a huge Resident Evil fan, but I have played and do like some of the games, especially when they have a co-op. That's something that was definitely fun, and it was exciting to play in the early 2000s. And like I said, I even still play them today. But as far as, this game not being popular, Resi 5 not being popular, that it has to be a lie. Someone's lying. Because I keep looking at these lists. These lists look the same no matter who I see publishing it. Granted, this is before the remake of 4 came out, but Resident Evil 4, it's number 3. The best game, everyone that plays Resident Evil, number 4 is the best. They have not topped that game yet. Okay, well, it's number 3. Number 2 being 6, that you know, everyone says that 6 is the biggest pile of dog shit Resident Evil series ever had. But it's number 2. Has more sales than Resident Evil 4. And then number 1, we have Resident Evil 5. The best selling in the series is a game that nobody likes. Who's lying? Someone has to be lying. And it's, I mean, it's not by a small margin. Resident Evil 4, 10.8 million units versus Resi 5, 13.4 million. It's not like it just barely squeaked it out. Compared to a lot of the other games. And what's the date on this one? October 18th of 2022. I'm worried Capcom doesn't want to put out a remake of 5 just because they're worried about getting all the pushback again, especially with the way stuff is now. You know, you had some game journalists and stuff that were talking about, Resi 5 being racist back in 2009, which I don't know. Maybe I'm blind to it, but that was something I never seen. It was chasing a virus that made people into zombies, just like we've done in all the other games. Just so happens that this one was in Africa. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people on YouTube, on, various social media platforms across Twitter, whatever else, saying that, there's no way Resident Evil 5 can't be remade. There's no reason to remake Resident Evil 5. It's too new of a game. It wouldn't, it doesn't make enough sense. I think it makes plenty of sense. We've remade 4 games so far. Why would Capcom not remake their best-selling entry of the entire series? And, for those of you who have finished the game or watched the end credits basically of the game, why would they throw Wesker in to 5? Or why would they throw Wesker in at the end of 4 if they wasn't going to remake 5? I feel like that was basically letting us know that, yeah, they're remaking 5, because I'm pretty sure we did not see Ada talking to Wesker at the end of the original Resident Evil 4. I don't think that conversation happened. The ending was a lot more different. But, like I've heard other people say, they have the conversation. She has the conversation with Wesker, and then she turns the helicopter. Maybe they threw that in there showing that they were changing course and gonna make the story go around 5 to where those events never happened. Which I feel like if they was going to not make 5, then they would have just we would have just basically ignored Wesker's existence. I mean, we just wouldn't have talked about it. I feel like the fact that they brought him up at all forces 5. If we don't get a Resident Evil 5 remake, I'm gonna be upset. I think 5 and 6 need to be remade just because it's part of this story that if you didn't play these games growing up and you got on board at 7 or 8, you you can't go back and play the old games. You can, but you're not going to enjoy it cuz you're not going to like those tanky controls. And I mean, so far every remake is a slam dunk. Well, I mean, let's go back to the list. You know, have 7. We have two's remake. We have Village. Then we have 2, and then we have three's remake. 1's not on here at all. And then, you know, the original 3, not in the top 10, but we have two's remake and three's remake both in the top 10. Obviously, Revelations is probably going to get cycled out because I imagine 4 remake sales are pretty high. May even put it up there, maybe around Village or two's remake. Maybe even it may even take the number 3 spot from the original 4. I'm not sure yet. I haven't been keeping up with sales numbers if they've even been released. I mean, the game's been out for a few days, a week now maybe. So, I don't know what the numbers look like, but I'm seeing discussion on it blow up all over everywhere. So, all these remakes, I mean, they're just home runs. They're knocking it out of the park on them. Everyone is happy. So, and that they remade 4 and they got rid of a lot of the things that were controversial about it. I mean, the looking up Ashley's skirt, they got rid of that. And then, just like a bunch of the innuendos and some of the lines that a lot of people, it was funny back then, but it would not be in good taste today. They made those changes. I mean, they made other changes throughout. So, you can make small changes and it be okay. So, I mean, the only thing that I can really think of for them to change about 5 to make it any better is the opening scene, basically, where they're in the town before you see anyone that's being infected, and there's a group of guys surrounding a bag with something living in it, and they're just like kicking and stomping with the bag. I don't remember if they're just kicking at it or if they're hitting it with clubs or whatever. But they're attacking something that's tied up in a bag, which I've heard people complain. Oh, it makes the African people look like a bunch of savages. Okay, I mean that's a small detail that I don't think a lot of people picked up because until I started seeing people talk about it, I didn't remember it. So okay, we get rid of that. Get rid of that small detail. I mean, like I said, Resident Evil 5 is my favorite in the series, mostly because of the co op. I feel like if they remake it, they have to keep the co op aspect of it because that's just that's a big part of what made that game for me. Maybe other people don't feel the same. I was a fan of our partner Sheva. I mean, I really enjoyed that character. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm gonna post this video. I've been fighting back and forth with myself whether I should or not. Granted, all like four people that are gonna watch this because this is a this is a brand new channel, has no subscribers. Maybe I could get a few of y'all to watch this. See, see if people agree with me that they think 5 should be remade. Or, if you don't think it should be remade, tell me. Tell me what I'm missing. Just tell me the things that are wrong with 5 that would make you say this game cannot be remade. You know, it's the number one selling Resident Evil game in the series, but we have to pretend that it doesn't exist. Give me your reason, because I don't get it. I don't understand. Help help me understand if you disagree with me. Like the video, subscribe. This is the channel that I'm going to be playing, more modern games on. I have my other channel, Retro Beard, which I didn't do it on purpose, but it basically become like a Pokemon channel. I didn't do that on purpose, but it is what it is. Yeah, feel free to express yourself down in the comments, and maybe I'll make another video talking about, how someone changed my mind on my favorite Resident Evil game, or maybe I don't know, whatever. Just I'm hoping for Capcom to remake 5. That's really that's really the whole scene here. So, thank you guys for listening to my rambling, and hopefully I'll see y'all in another video.